Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you guys are all having a great show. So the premise of this presentation is that the game has changed. And what do I mean by the game has changed? I mean that in the past, you guys probably you're all here because you're all part of Geotab. And just by a quick show of hands, how many over here have quoted the... Oh, you can't hear me? Okay, you can hear me now. Thank you. How many here have quoted the Department of Energy statistics? By eliminating harsh braking and accelerating, you can save 33% on miles per gallon. Every 5 miles per hour over 60 saves an extra 5 cents per gallon, right? That's very good, very good. So that's been the typical pitch. And in the past, it's won the business, and sometimes it still does win the business, but now things are changing. And telematics by itself is not necessarily good enough. You need video telematics. A lot of deals that you're going into, people are going to be asking you, what are you doing for cameras? What are you doing for video? How is it working? Does it tie into the telematics? What does that look like? And in order to do this, in order to compete, people want the value. They need artificial intelligence. A lot of people are going to want that in-cab feedback. And why are they doing that? They're doing it to protect the driver. They're doing it to improve on coaching. And they're doing it to help the overall business. Just to tell you a really quick little bit about ourselves, we've been around since 2005. We're located, our headquarters is in New York. We have an onboarding office in Florida, and we have a development and sales office in Krakow, Poland as well. One of the things that's really unique about us is that we have about 30 engineers that are dedicated to just creating the apps, creating the solution, making the improvements, and we have 24/7 support. So we're gonna make sure that we're taking care of you guys, and we're helping you to close the deals and keeping the customers happy. All right, so again, we're trying to limit the liability, improve visibility, and better protect the drivers on the road. And by doing that, you guys, I'm sure these are some newer statistics that are really good to go in with. 20% of all accidents in 2018 involved commercial fleets, so tractor trailers, over-the-road trucks, service-level vehicles. That's a staggering statistic. And businesses, on average, lose about $70,000 for every incident that takes place. That's between the vehicle being down, loss runs, increased insurance. And what happens is, if you have too many of those, FMCSA is going to shut you down. These are incredibly powerful statistics, and they're the reason why people want to take it beyond telematics and move it into video telematics. Okay, so this new level of visibility, we're able to tell where the driver is, what they've been doing, if you're loading or unloading waste, if you're doing landscaping, if you're in oil. Every single field requires that kind of information. Now, what's really, really critical is how you're protecting the driver, right? So 90% of rear-end accidents can be prevented by having 1.5 seconds in between you and the vehicle in front of you. So if you have, and these are statistics that I'll share this with you guys afterwards, but it's from the National Transportation Safety Board, right? And what does that mean? If you are keeping that safe tracking distance, you're going to have enough time to stop. And by having within the vehicle that real-time feedback, you're going to keep yourself to a safe tracking distance. And once you hit 0.6, it actually beeps at you and tells you that you have to back off a little bit and leave that safe space. 44% of non-performance of driver-related crashes are due to falling asleep while driving. So how can you prevent that? By in real time waking the driver up. So as soon as the driver starts to close his eyes, it beeps at you and wakes you up. 40% of all driver-related crashes are due to driver inattention. So again, if you're able to get the driver's eyes back onto the road, you're going to eliminate those accidents as well. All right, so utilizing artificial intelligence. Now, there are a lot of camera systems out here today, and a lot of the camera systems say, we use AI. And that is true. There are a lot of camera systems that are using AI, but what does that mean? What are you actually doing with the AI? So there are very few, if any, camera systems that are out there, maybe one right now, that is actually using AI at the edge. So when you're using AI at the edge, it's actually doing the sensing of the driver monitoring, so that it's doing that prevention and it's doing the protection, so that as soon as the event takes place, we're moving the coaching down to the driver so the driver can actually handle that. Okay, now, so what happens when one of those AI events takes place is that they're going to get notified within the vehicle that something happens. They're going to get woken up. It's going to take them back onto the road. But if a vehicle cuts out in front of a driver and that proximity gets really close to maybe 0.6 miles, then they're also going to get that alert. It's going to upload into the portal, but it might not be the driver's fault. In other words, if a vehicle went out in front of that driver and then that driver slowed down, it is absolutely true that they had an incident that took place where they had to slow down, where they got too close to the vehicle in front of them. The same thing is true with harsh braking and accelerating. They might have to hit the brake very hard, but it might not be their fault. So what we're doing is we've released a driver app where the driver can actually see the videos that they were caught for, and it gamifies it, and it shows the drivers their score in the system, and they can communicate back with the coach and say, this wasn't my fault, this shouldn't count against me, and then they can see their score continuously improving, and that creates a very intimate and a very intense type of correction that the driver himself is able to do and control and protect themselves, as opposed to it being a coach that's beating up on that driver. Okay, so these are the different types of events that we're monitoring. So there's driver falling asleep, driver distracted, driver smoking, driver using the cell phone, too close, risking collision, unsafe lane departure, and pedestrian alert. And then we're also tied in with the Geotab Go device so that any of the different types of events that you want to record off of the Go device can come across, but especially and most importantly are those harsh cornerings, harsh braking, harsh accelerating, and potential collision. Okay, so you guys can see over here, so this is the 0.7 seconds to impact. As you're moving closer and further away from the vehicle in real time, it's giving you that feedback and letting you know what you have to do in order to modify your behavior. Right? So again, it's very important that we're going ahead and empowering the drivers and letting the drivers know what they have to do in real time. This way the coaches don't have that same type of responsibility to get in front of the driver. We want the drivers to modify that behavior on their own. So within the system, and this has become essentially table stakes, that every system that you're going in and you're pitching needs to have these elements. It needs to be able to live stream. You have to be able to view your video history remotely. You have to have an easy portal, and you have to have that driver coaching. And then on top of that, having that AI is really what brings it home and makes it into a complete solution. Everyone loves to see the data, and it's critical to be able to see the data in a convenient way. So you can see over here, you can actually identify what the different types of events are that are important to you, whether it's the ADAS or the DMS, meaning looking in at the driver, looking out at the road, maybe harsh braking and accelerating, maybe ELD, maybe speeding, whatever it is that's most important for the fleet. And we have default templates that you can create, and then once you've hit a certain number of events, automatically the next day, the coach gets in their email that these are the types of events that need to get coached, and this is how you're going to improve that driver behavior. Once they've done that coaching, the coach either from the main screen or the driver can actually respond to that coach, and you can see that this particular event has gotten coached, what was the level of severity, and what are the comments that are associated. This way you have a history as far as what took place for that driver, and if there's something that's repeating, you could download it, you could file it in his report, and you can make sure that that driver is improving on that behavior if the in-cab feedback isn't taking care of it on its own. So these are just some examples of how the live streaming works. So you can click on either the driver or the road or both, and you can live stream up to 6 cameras. And you can also do a historical pull. And we actually have breadcrumbs of what's taking place along the road every 5 minutes. And from any 5-minute interval in time that's on the SD card, you can actually go ahead and you can hit stream from there and play what took place. So you don't have to go out to the vehicle and pull the SD card. You could just say, I want to know what happened a week ago at 5 o'clock when he got to John's house. And you could go ahead and hit play and then download the video from there. As far as the Geotab integration goes, it's a single sign-on. All of the users come across, the vehicles come across, the groups come across, the different events come across, and we also have the new interface where on the map you actually have the breadcrumb images that you can play from those points in time. This is the essential camera, so it's simply a single plug and play with a 3-wire install and a second camera that can be added to it. And then there's the enterprise camera that can go up to 5 cameras. It also has an LCD so you can see within the vehicle what's going on. You place the cameras wherever is appropriate. It could be looking out the back. It could be looking at a waste bucket. It could be looking at a cherry picker, whatever is most impactful for the different use case. And then you've got the different AI systems where you can do the ADAS looking out the road, the DMS at the driver, and the in-cab feedback. Makes it into a complete solution that's got every aspect of the AI, live streaming, as well as events. And with that, I won't take any more of your time. I'll open it up to questions. And I'd love to hear any feedback, any questions. What do you guys think?
Does anyone have any questions for David? Not at this point? All right, well,
The driver feedback that was showing 0.7 seconds to impact was green. If he gets too close, does that color change to red?
That's right. Once it hits 0.6, it turns red, and that's configurable. But we found that 0.6 is a pretty good number, that's a pretty close severe incident that needs to be reported. Otherwise, it's just the driver that's getting that feedback, and they can adjust it and try to keep to that 1.5 or 2 second interval.
okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, if you think of questions later on, please visit FleetCam at their booth. Please enjoy the rest of the afternoon at Connect 2020.
Thank you, guys.